Please, just let me take this one." Her voice barely existed, a whisper swallowed by the silence of a luxury corridor that didn't belong to people like her. No one answered. No one ever did. The other night staff kept moving, eyes down, carts rolling softly over polished marble, as if they hadn't heard her, as if she wasn't there. Until Clara tightened her grip on the cleaning cart and glanced at the room number again. She wasn't supposed to be here, not assigned, not authorized. But she had memorized the schedule, waited for the right moment, watched the cameras rotate. Because tonight wasn't about rules. It was about her sister. "Clara, if they send me home again, I don't think I'll make it." Emily's voice from earlier that evening echoed in her head, thin and breaking. The hospital had been clear. No deposit, no treatment, no time. Clara exhaled slowly and reached for the master keycard clipped to her apron. Her hands shook, not because she was scared of getting caught, but because she knew exactly what she was doing. The door clicked open, soft, almost polite. Inside, the room was dim, lit by a faint amber glow near the window. Expensive, quiet, untouched. The kind of place where nothing ever went wrong. She stepped in carefully, closing the door behind her without a sound. Her heart was loud now, too loud. Every step felt like it echoed. "Just enough," she whispered. "Just what we need." No greed, no mistakes, just survival. Her eyes moved quickly, scanning the desk, the drawers, then the coat near the wardrobe. That's where it would be. It always was. She crossed the room, fingers brushing the fine wool. For a second, she hesitated, not because she cared who it belonged to, but because of what it meant. This wasn't lost money. It was taken. Her hand slipped into the inner pocket, and there it was, an envelope. Thick. Clara froze. Her chest tightened as she pulled it out slowly, heavier than expected. "This is it," she breathed. "Emily, hospital, tomorrow." She opened her bag, sliding the envelope inside with trembling hands. No rush, no noise, just one step closer. Then, the lock clicked. Clara went still. Not fear, not yet. Something worse. Realization. The door opened slowly, deliberately. Footsteps followed, measured, unhurried. She didn't turn. Her fingers tightened against the desk. "Strange," a man's voice said behind her, calm, controlled. "This room wasn't scheduled for cleaning tonight." Her breath caught. Still, she said nothing. The door shut. Soft. Final. Then, a click. Clara turned slowly. He didn't look angry. No shouting, no confusion, just stillness. He stood near the door, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a keycard. Tall, composed. His eyes moved once, from her face to the bag in her hand, then back again. "Did you find what you were looking for?" he asked. Clara's throat tightened. Every instinct told her to lie. But something about him made that feel useless. So she nodded. He stepped forward once, then again. Not rushed, certain. Clara's back hit the desk. No space left. "Most people," he said quietly, "would have tried to run." "There's nowhere to run," she replied. Something flickered in his expression. Then, without breaking eye contact, he reached behind him and locked the door. The sound echoed, sharp, final. Clara's heart slammed. Now it was fear. Because he didn't call security, didn't raise his voice, didn't even look surprised. And somehow, that was worse. "Take it out," he said. Her fingers hovered over her bag. "Please, I didn't mean to." "Take it out." Still calm, still controlled. Slowly, she reached inside and pulled out the envelope, held it in both hands. "For yourself?" he asked. Clara shook her head. "For my sister." Silence filled the room. Then he stepped closer, close enough for her to feel it now. This wasn't just a man. This was someone used to being obeyed. Someone used to people disappearing after moments like this. And yet, he hadn't stopped her. Not immediately, not even now. "Interesting," he murmured. Clara's breath caught, because the way he said it wasn't like a victim. It was like he had discovered something valuable. And suddenly, this wasn't about the money anymore. It was about her. "Interesting," he murmured. The word lingered in the air longer than it should have. Clara didn't move, didn't breathe properly, because nothing about this felt normal. People like him didn't say, "interesting." They ended things, quickly, quietly, without questions. "Your sister," he repeated, not mockingly, not softly either, just testing it. Clara nodded, her fingers tightening around the envelope like it was the only thing holding her together. "She needs surgery," she said, her voice steadier now. Not because she wasn't afraid, but because fear didn't matter anymore, not compared to Emily. He watched her carefully, not her hands, not the money, her. Like he was trying to decide something that didn't usually require thinking. "And stealing was your solution?" he asked. Clara swallowed. "No," she said quietly. "It was my last option." A pause, not long, but heavy. His gaze didn't shift, didn't soften, but something changed, slightly. "You planned it," he said, not a question. "Yes." "You watched the cameras?" "Yes." "You chose this room?" Clara hesitated, just for a second, then, "Yes." Another silence, but this one felt different, sharper. "Then this wasn't desperation," he said. "It was a decision." That landed harder than any accusation. Clara lifted her chin slightly. "If I waited any longer, she wouldn't make it." For the first time, he looked away, briefly, as if something in that answer didn't sit cleanly. Then he reached into his coat. Clara stiffened instantly. Her heart jumped, expecting something else, a phone, a signal, the end. But instead, he pulled out another envelope, thicker than the first, heavier, and placed it on the table between them. Clara stared at it, confused, wary. "This," he said calmly, "is more than what you took." She didn't touch it, didn't even blink. "You can take it," he continued. "Walk out that door. No one stops you." Her heart started racing again, not from fear this time, from something worse. Hope. "And my sister?" she asked. "It covers everything," he replied. Silence filled the room again, but now it felt unstable. Clara looked at the envelope, then at him. "There's a catch," she said. A faint shift in his expression, almost approval. "There's always a catch." He nodded once. "You're right." He stepped closer, not invading, not retreating, just enough to make the space between them feel intentional. "If you take it," he said quietly, "you leave believing exactly what you believed when you walked in." Clara frowned slightly. "That I wouldn't help you," he clarified. "That I'm just someone you take from, because asking isn't worth it." The words hit deeper than she expected. "And if I don't?" she asked. His eyes held hers now, steady, unavoidable. "Then you put back what you stole," he said, "and you trust me to decide what happens next." Clara's chest tightened. That was the real risk. Not getting caught, not being punished. Trusting him. A man she didn't know, a man who clearly wasn't just a guest. A man who could end her life or change it completely. "Why?" she whispered. The question slipped out before she could stop it. He didn't answer immediately, and in that pause, something shifted. Because men like him didn't owe explanations, didn't offer choices, didn't hesitate. But he did. "Because," he said finally, "you didn't ask." Clara blinked. "You don't beg, you didn't cry, you didn't look for sympathy." His voice remained calm, but now there was something underneath it, something quieter. "You decided," he continued, "and acted." A pause. "I respect that." The room felt different again, less like a trap, more like something unfinished. Clara looked down at the envelope in her hands, then at the one on the table. Two choices, one safe, one unknown. Her fingers tightened. Then slowly, she stepped forward and placed the stolen envelope back on the table. She didn't touch the other one. "I'll trust you," she said. Her voice shook this time, not from fear, but from the weight of what she'd just done. For the first time, his expression changed. Not much, but enough. Something unreadable, something rare. "Good," he said quietly. Then picked up his phone. "Arrange immediate treatment," he said. "No delays." Clara's breath caught. It was that simple. No forms, no questions, no waiting. Power. Real power. He sent the call and looked back at her. "You'll come back tomorrow," he said. Clara frowned slightly. "For what?" A faint pause, then, "For me." Silence. "This isn't charity," he added. "It's a decision." Clara's heart pounded again, because somehow this didn't feel like the end. It felt like the beginning of something she didn't understand yet. And deep down, she knew one thing for certain. She'd escaped him. She had been chosen. If this moment pulled you in, that's not by accident. Stories like this are engineered to make you feel something real: tension, choice, consequence. Stay with it, because the next chapter only gets deeper. Clara didn't sleep. Not properly. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same thing: the door locking, the envelope on the table, and the way he looked at her, like she wasn't just another mistake. Morning came too quickly. Hospitals had a way of making time feel different, slower, heavier. "She's stable," the nurse said gently. "The procedure's been scheduled." Clara nodded, her chest tightening with relief she didn't know how to process. It worked. He actually did it. No delays, no conditions, just one call, and everything changed. But that didn't make sense. Men like him didn't help without a reason. "Clara?" Emily's voice was weak, but clearer than before. "You're here," her sister whispered. "Of course I am," Clara replied softly. Emily studied her face for a moment, then, "What did you do?" Clara forced a small smile. "Nothing you need to worry about." Emily didn't smile back. "You look like someone who made a deal." Clara's fingers tightened. "It's handled." "That's not an answer," Emily said. Silence settled between them. Clara exhaled slowly. "I took something," she admitted. Emily's expression changed. "You stole?" Clara nodded. "And then?" Emily asked. "He caught me." Emily's breath hitched. "And you're here?" "That's the part I don't understand," Clara said. "He didn't call anyone. He just watched me." Emily stayed quiet. "Then he gave me a choice," Clara continued. "A choice?" "I could take more money and leave, or give it back and trust him." Emily frowned. "And you trusted him?" Clara hesitated. "Yes." "Why?" Clara looked down. It didn't feel like a test, she said. It felt like he had already decided something. Emily's voice dropped. That's not normal. I know. Then why go back? Because she had to. Because something about that moment wasn't finished. He told me to come back, Clara said. And you're going? Yes. No hesitation. Because this wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about understanding what she had walked into. The hotel felt different in daylight. Brighter, busier, safer. But Clara knew better. Power didn't disappear with the dark. It just became harder to see. She walked through the staff entrance slowly, aware of every glance, every whisper. Word had spread. She's the one, someone murmured. Clara kept walking. She reached the front desk. I'm here to see… You don't need to say it, the receptionist said quickly. Her tone shifted, respectful, careful. He's expecting you. Of course he was. No questions, just access. That told her everything. This wasn't a normal guest. A man in a dark suit approached her. This way, he said. Clara followed without speaking, through corridors she had never entered, past doors she didn't know existed, until they stopped. A private suite. The door opened before she could knock. And there he was, exactly where she left him, calm, composed, waiting. Right on time, he said. Clara stepped inside. The door closed behind her. That same sound, final. You helped my sister, she said. He nodded. You kept your word. Another nod. Clara swallowed. Why? Because you kept yours. Silence. Simple, direct. But it didn't feel complete. Clara stepped closer. There's more, she said. His eyes sharpened. Then say it. Her heart raced. I didn't choose your room randomly, she admitted. The air shifted. Not anger, focus. I knew it was yours, she continued. A pause. And I took it anyway. Silence. Heavy. Because this time, it wasn't desperation. It was a decision. And for the first time, she didn't know what he would do next. The room felt colder, not in temperature, but in weight, like something invisible had settled between them. He didn't move, didn't speak, but his gaze changed, sharper, more precise. You knew, he said finally, not a question. Clara nodded. Yes. Why my room? Her throat tightened. Because you wouldn't notice, she said. The moment the words left her mouth, she realized how wrong they sounded. His expression didn't change, but the silence that followed did. You made an assumption, he said. Yes. And acted on it. Yes. A pause, then… That's dangerous. Clara held his gaze. I know. Another silence, but this one felt different, less like judgment, more like calculation. Then he stepped closer, just one step, enough to shift the air again. And now? He asked quietly. Clara didn't look away. Now I wait. For what? Her voice steadied. For you to decide if I was wrong. For you to decide if I was wrong. Clara's voice didn't shake this time, not like before, because now she understood something she hadn't earlier. This was no longer about being caught. It was about being judged. Silence filled the room, heavy, unavoidable. He studied her, not with anger, not even with disappointment, but with something far more unsettling. Consideration. You assumed I wouldn't notice, he said. Clara nodded once. And now you're standing here, waiting for the consequence of that decision. Yes. Another pause, Then, "You're either very brave," he said quietly, "or very foolish." Clara exhaled slowly. "I didn't think I had the luxury of choosing between the two." For a brief moment, something shifted in his expression. Not softness, but recognition. He turned slightly, walking toward the window. The city stretched out beneath them, bright, distant, untouchable. "People usually lie in situations like this," he said. Clara didn't respond. "They deny, they beg, they shift blame." He glanced back at her. "You've done none of that." Because it wouldn't have worked. Because something about him made lies feel pointless. "I made a decision," Clara said quietly. "I'm not going to pretend I didn't." He watched her for a long second. Then he nodded. "Good." The word caught her off guard, because it didn't sound like approval. It sounded like confirmation. He walked back toward her, slow, measured. "Then I'll treat you accordingly." Clara's chest tightened. This was it. Not anger, not shouting, something worse. Final judgment. "You were wrong," he said. The words landed clean, sharp. Clara didn't react, didn't argue. She had expected that. "But not in the way you think." That made her look up. "You assumed I wouldn't help," he continued, "that I wasn't worth asking." A pause. "That wasn't your mistake." Confusion flickered across her face. "Then what was?" He stepped closer, close enough that the space between them disappeared completely. "Thinking you could take something from me," his voice lowered, "and walk away unchanged." Clara's breath caught, because suddenly this didn't feel like punishment. It felt like something else, something far more permanent. "You don't get to disappear after this," he said. Her heart pounded again. "I wasn't planning to." Another flicker in his eyes. "Good," he said. Silence stretched again, but now it wasn't tense. It was decided. "Your sister's treatment is already in motion," he continued. "No interruptions, no delays." Relief hit her again, but softer this time, quieter, because now she understood. That wasn't the favor, that was the beginning. "And you," he added, "will work for me." There it was. Clara frowned slightly. "That's the consequence?" Additional leaf pen. "That's the opportunity." She searched his face, trying to understand what that meant. "I don't understand," she admitted. "I know," he replied, and for the first time, there was something almost human in his tone. "You made a calculated decision under pressure," he said. "You observed, planned, and acted without hesitation." A pause. "Those aren't traits I ignore." Clara blinked. "You're not angry?" That almost made him smile. Almost. "Anger is for mistakes," he said. "This was a choice." Silence. "And choices," he added, "have value." Clara felt something shift inside her, because this wasn't what she expected. Not punishment, not forgiveness. Recognition. "But make no mistake," he continued. "You don't get to walk away from this." Her steady now. "I didn't ask to." Another pause, then a small nod. "Good." He turned slightly, picking up the envelope from the table, the one she had returned. He placed it back in her hands. Clara froze. "I told you," he said, "you wouldn't leave unchanged." Her fingers tightened around it. "This isn't the same," she said. "No," he agreed, "it isn't." Because now it wasn't stolen, it was given, on his terms. Clara looked at him, really looked this time, not just at the power, not just at the control, but at the man behind it, and for the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt something far more dangerous: understanding. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. A pause, then, "You stay," he said. Simple, final. Not a command, a decision already made. And somehow, she knew resisting it would change nothing, because this was never about forcing her, it was about choosing her. Clara exhaled slowly. Then, she nodded. And just like that, everything shifted. Not because she was trapped, but because she had stepped into something she didn't fully understand and didn't want to walk away from. Across the room, he watched her, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't see someone who feared you. He saw someone who chose to stay, and that was far more powerful.